Hello and welcome to Access Chat. Just like to say a warm welcome to Juan Rico. Juan is a former colleague of Antonio and myself. He's now working at Teka. Debra's not here this week. She's in China, so it's just the three of us. So Juan, it's great to have you with us. You're a regular on Access Chat on Twitter. So it's ironic that you had to leave our company and join another one before we got to interview you. But I'm glad you're here now. So tell us about yourself, your interests, and how you came to be engaged in the space, and then a bit about what you're doing now at Teka.
Okay, thanks a lot. It's a really honor to be here. You all know how important for me is our Tuesday activities. So just a quick introduction on myself. I'm telecommunications engineer. I have been working with mainly wireless communications for the last 15 years. I started working as research intern in the University of Cantabria here in Spain. Dealing basically with what was called at that time machine-to-machine communications. Then the name evolves towards Internet of Things. I moved to a spin-off company created by my colleagues there, and basically we were in the early stages of IoT, dealing with smart city stuff, creating devices for monitoring, waste monitoring, for parking sensors, lighting control. So very focused on the technological part of the IoT and the smart cities. After that, I moved to Atos 4 years ago, and there I was working in energy and transport department. First as a researcher, then I was promoted to lead the energy part. And that time was when I met for the first time the Access Chat. Basically because one of the projects in which I was involved was trying to build an app for persons with special needs in Madrid, basically to support them how to use public transport and avoid crowded areas to, let's say, minimize the risks that they are exposed to. So then after the first engagement, it was really easy to keep well with the topic, because the implications of, let's say, social sciences in the engineering area is something that I have really appreciated for many times. Besides my engineering role, I always enjoy reading philosophy things, so it kind of mix that makes me appreciate, makes me push things that it's not only how cool technology is, but how useful things are, and in which way we are helping or supporting people to minimize the problems or to solve, if it's possible, their problems. Then in June I moved to Teka. Teka is an appliance manufacturer, and here my role would be to lead the smart home group. Basically, we have many different major domestic appliances that basically covers the kitchen, and we are starting to introduce connectivity. And since the connectivity market in the kitchen is something that is not really hitting as expected to end customers, my role is a bit how to focus our approach, basically to make it profitable and not only a nice technical solution.
Excellent. I was failing to take myself off mute for a second there, and I think that it's clear to me your tangible enthusiasm for the topic. You're a regular contributor to the chat. We've had numerous sort of previous conversations whilst colleagues about including people I think the area that you're working in now around the home is a particularly important one, because these are the fundamental basic appliances, home devices, are the fundamental building blocks of people's quality of life. So being able to prepare your food, things that keep you alive, things that keep you warm, all of these kind of things. So if you're, what are the sort of things that you take into account when you're as a group, when you're making stuff? How do you be inclusive when you're designing stuff, and how do you also try and include your audience when you're communicating about the work that you're doing?
Yeah, that's a quite tricky thing, because let's say that now the market and all big companies are taking like two different approaches combined, that at the end they are quite different and independent. That on the one hand they are trying to create things as sophisticated as possible, using latest technologies, but mainly for the sake of selling how advanced they are. But from my point of view, losing a bit why do we need this kind of technologies? And on the other hand, they are selling the same, let's say, traditional stuff in which they feel comfortable, that is mainly, I don't call it accessible, but is useful for everyone. So here what the challenge right now, and what we are trying to find, right? Because it's still unknown how to fit the balance between technology and usefulness, is in which way we can keep all the advances that have been created in the last years, and at the same time offer solutions for people who really need. One of the most typical things that is said about smart kitchen is this is a niche market, but no one is betting for any particular niche. So at the end, it's like, okay, my oven can do a lot of stuff, but it's actually more difficult to use it than when I just can control the temperature and the time. So this is the balance we need to
absolutely. So my sister got married a couple of years back, and these days when you get married you get a list of sort of presents and so on, and she ended up with a quite an expensive microwave, and I've watched her husband, who is he's an engineer, so he's using the microwave, and it's got all of these buttons and all of these programs, and all he ever uses is the plus 30 seconds button. Keeps adding an extra 30 seconds and presses cook, because everything else is too complicated. So I think that there has to be this kind of, and I have the most basic microwave out. It's pretty ancient, and it's got the two dials. The one for how strong the cooking thing is, and the other for the time, and that's all I need. I mean, that said, you can have complexity, but it needs to be in the background. So I guess your challenge is to take that innovation and to a large extent hide it away from the user. So that they only get it when they need it. So I think if we stick with microwaves, I also saw Amazon demonstrating an Alexa-powered microwave in Washington earlier this year, and my immediate thought was, that's great. You can say, Alexa, cook my chicken, and it knows that it's chicken. But what they needed to add was a weight scale, because then you'd know exactly how long to cook the chicken for, so that you didn't give yourself food poisoning.
Yeah.
Especially and I'm thinking in the cases of people who have specific learning difficulties, or people who are blind, Actually, a voice-enabled microwave would be really, really useful. I never thought I would say voice-enabled kitchen appliances would be useful. I'm converted. I can see the utility. But with something like chicken, where you can give yourself food poisoning, you need to cook it for the right amount of time. So I'm sure there are lots of other scenarios that you can imagine where you could do similar things.
Yeah, indeed, one of the most, the typical application for a smart home is the appliance in which more features have been added is the oven and the microwave, basically to control the full process and assure, let's say, 100% accurate finish of the products. However, this is not happening because cooking depends a lot on where you are, what is the humidity, if the heat is properly distributed, which model you are using. So it's quite a complex thing. And for me, the funniest thing so far is that this is called auto programs. And the auto programs, we did a benchmark a few months ago. And we found that auto programs requires 11 steps from the users. So it's not so auto. We can call it programs, okay, but yeah, that's something that at the end, when we try with users the apps that are already in the market, everyone tells us it's too complex to use it. I know how to cook my chicken, so it's easier to go and do it manually. So what we are doing is take all these lessons and take the value of things, not try to make things more complex than currently are, and try to solve specific problems for specific needs. That's what we need. As you said before, we need to hide the complexity. If things are more complicated just for being more sophisticated, people are not going to pay more for them. If we are not solving specific problems with the solutions we are providing, there is no added value of spending 2,000 euros on an oven when I can buy for doing the same things I know how to do for half of the price. So this is where we are right now, trying to identify for whom we are going to create this value and in which way, because here the opportunity is how ICT technologies make things easier for us to provide these solutions for I don't like the word niches, but maybe for the people that have particular needs, because there are many different things that could be done. It could be really quick tested, and the added value of that things could be much higher than any new feature in the oven, in the way the cook is prepared, the food is prepared.
Okay, nobody wants to have a piece of appliance at home where technology becomes decorative. Something that you can show your friends who have all these features. Yeah, but that's it. And you pay premium price for something that you never use. So appliance is sometimes is something that go old with you. So while it's not something that you replace every day. So how can you find the balance between building something, creating something today, and some needs that might arise in the future? How can you? So you are talking about this looking at a niche, a solution here. But we know well that always occasions in our life that we might be limited because we are sick for some reason, we're not feeling well, or because we have a kind of an accident who disrupted our daily activities, and we may not be able to use those appliances. How do you keep the balance between making the product, making that having a revenue margin, making sure that you make a profit of it, and at the same time being able to that product to be useful for people who buy it through their life journey?
Yeah, that's a very good question, by the way. There is, let's say, two parts of this for this problem. On the one hand is how the appliances work. And this is mainly mechanic things, power electronics, and this is something that we can live with it for many years. I mean, there are fridges that could last for 20-25 years, and you would not notice the difference from day one to the final day. The same with the oven or with the hob, or with the hood there is more, let's say, decorative aspects because it's in a different position in the kitchen. But let's say that in the way they work, you can live with them for long periods without any issue. The opportunity comes with ICT technologies. Once you introduce connectivity for all these appliances, you are taking an interface or a way of using it different from the one that is already embedded. And this is something that can evolve in the time quickly without any big problem for the management of the appliance itself. And that offers a lot of opportunities for the manufacturers like us to bring new things, to solve problems in a clear manner, to be scalable, and also to create new revenues. One of the, I would say, challenges or the ideas we have is that at the end there will be some basic features that we need to provide through ICT technologies, and it could be an application in your mobile phone, but it could be also through Alexa, Google Home, or whatever interface that could arise in the future. And the second part is how to make this sustainable in time, what kind of premium services or what kind of partners we will find to make this sustainable, and at the end allow companies to keep investing on the digital part of the kitchen, let's say. Mm-hmm.
Thinking of the digital part of the kitchen, and I've just been browsing through the range. While we talk, everyone loves the clean lines of the modern kitchen. Mm-hmm. And you've got lots of touch interfaces, lots of so on. So are you exploring things like haptics right now? So because you've got there's lots of glass, not just within your range, but that's the trend in kitchens right now. Everything's glossy, flat, flush. No, nothing standing out. So I mean, one of the things that I'm super interested in is how you can give the illusion of touch. So you can have things like mid-air haptics. So you could actually enable someone to be, again, and this will work for everyone, but it will specifically work for someone who's blind, having something that feels like a control, rather that enables you to sort of control it. And again, it might be a way of bringing back some of the simplicity. Just curious if those kind of things are on your radar. Not so much from an inclusion point of view, but just generally, because often we see design trends going in divergent directions from technology.
Yeah, exactly. You hit the right point. Indeed, the trend is try to hide everything, and looks like you don't have a kitchen in your kitchen, yes. Or you don't have the appliances in your kitchen. Mm-hmm. And what has been done so far in terms of inclusivity is basically to keep the same appliances like we had 20-25 years ago, with all mechanic parts, big, making easier to check what are the warm zones of the kitchen. That's what we would like to change a bit, because at the end that is the kind of things that ICT technologies could provide, and you will not creating a gap between how you are providing inclusivity and how you are providing advanced technologies for let's say people that don't have any special need. So for bridging this gap, we need to use the ICT technologies, because otherwise you will keep always someone behind, and that is something that on the one hand is not fair, but besides that, you are losing an important share of the market that can really get the value of these kind of interfaces. So it's yeah, that is the way we. Well, I think that the whole industry is planning to evolve.
Well, no, in a kind of an indirect way, when appliances started to have more technology embedded and more connectivity, you somehow need to get the trust from consumers.
Yeah.
Okay, my fridge is connected. Can I really trust it to connect it to my Wi-Fi? How can I make sure that this is secure? And suddenly you have to patch your fridge. There's a software update there that you need to make sure that it happens. And it needs to happen over a period of time, not just the first 3 patches. So how do you find ways where you're able to, sell the product, but at the same time keep an ongoing process where consumers can trust in your products? Because nobody wants to arrive home and suddenly the fridge is open, something happened just because somebody messed it up with the network.
Yeah, indeed, for us, for Teka, the higher purpose we have is creating meaningful moments. And this is something we have in mind when designing solutions for the kitchen. One of the trends that we see in the market is that, most of the efforts are put on automation of processes. And kitchen is a place to enjoy, to share. It's a kind of contradiction. We are trying to keep you the complexity of the things you enjoy doing. So this is one of the first barriers we need to remove. And also, as you pointed out, how to build trust on connected appliances. The only way is by providing useful services. If the service deserves let's say, the risk, people is going to, because technology-wise is not a big problem. I mean, we have a lot of IoT things at home and people is not complaining about how secure they are. Of course, all of them should be secure, but if we are not providing any, let's say, added value, people is not going to take the risk. And here is where the most of the effort should be put in the short term. For the cybersecurity, software updates, and all the things, the regulators are creating means, basically because another difficult point here with the smart appliances is that, I can buy a smart appliance for my mother or for my grandma, and probably she's not the best person to apply a software update to it. But if they do not apply it, they are putting, let's say, an oven could be up to 300 degrees Celsius. So do we want to open this to happen? So how to automate these processes, in which way we should ask for users' permission to this, to do this kind of updates. There are a lot of regulation there, also in the way the products are conceived. We are following, I think it's not the same, but quite similar software certification processes as autonomous vehicles. So it's a challenge, but the problem is not the technology, is why people should trust and try these connected appliances. The service is what is going to make people make the step or keeping in the same position.
Yeah, I think it's the same with every technology. We're prepared to give away information about ourselves if we think that by doing so we're going to gain some kind of advantage. It's going to be beneficial to our lives. So sometimes we do it unthinkingly. We're downloading these like tiny little apps and stuff like that, and this is a tiny little utility, and it uploads your entire address book and tracks everything you're doing and all of this kind of stuff. But other times, I think, with obviously social networks, there's been a lot of press about what they've been doing and uploading data and tracking you and so on and so forth. I think that with household appliances, again, there are these areas of privacy that you've got to overcome. Say, if you want an always on, always listening device, how's that data anonymized? Those kind of questions come more to the fore. But I think that to a certain extent, the genie's out of the bottle. What we really need to do is, as you say, have the regulatory framework around it, the checks and balances, so that people can feel a reasonable amount of comfort that they're not going to be continuously surveilled in their own home, because otherwise I'm going to be buying a dumb oven for the foreseeable future, because I don't want it reporting back on my kitchen table conversations. So there's that element of trust, but also the trust that it's not going to burn your house down, the trust that it's not going to be a security leak and so on. So that comfort level, I don't think it's entirely there yet with customers. Do you I mean, you're working for Tech as an international company. Do you see differences between people's comfort levels in amongst different nationalities and different groups?
Yeah, definitely yes. Indeed, one of the top producers for appliances is China, and the level of services or the degree of penetration into people's life is much higher there. They have a lot of details on how they consume, how they behave. They don't have the GDPR, which helps for that part, although it's not necessarily good. And they are providing services focused on health advice that it's quite, consumers there accept them in a good way. In Europe, the only success story I'm aware of is Thermomix. I don't know if it's a cooking robot, and it has a version that connects to the internet, and through an app you can get your plan for the whole week, and they allow you to prepare everything in one day, and you don't have to cook for the rest of the week. So this is something that is working, is a connected product, and it takes into consideration what you are planning to eat for a full week. So it's an example that the problem is not the connectivity, the problem is not how to make people trust on a connected appliance. The problem is how to build useful services that people is willing to pay and use. So this is also an example of what is the path we should take, or what are the ideas that have been successful in Europe. In the US, they are now starting with also with connected products, but it's something, or the pace of the market is similar to the European ones. For putting remotely the washing machine things works. For all the other things, people is not so willing to pay for the extra cost of connected products. They can buy them, but they do not connect them. This is another thing that figures show, is that below 20% of the connected appliances sold are connected for the first time. And it's around 5% of them which are regularly used as connected products. So the decision for purchasing an appliance is not the technology that is behind, it's how good or bad they fit in our kitchen, if we do like the colors, if things are, it's cool in terms of the handle. So people is not asking, is this a connected product? They are asking, fit in my gap. I can put it in the place of my previous oven. So the drivers are not the ones that we are pushing with ICT technologies, but at the same time we need to create the value to make people aware that it's not only the product that I will put in my kitchen, it's also what it entails through an app or through a conversational interface or through haptics or whatever we want to, or whatever technology we could apply. So it's it's a new market for the manufacturers, but also we need to make a lot of let's say, to raise the awareness and educate the consumers on the benefits. But if there is no clear benefits, we can invest a lot of raising awareness that people is not going to take the new solutions.
But we know that Amazon has a interesting potential market, and in the United States they are in sectors that they are not in Europe. Do you see, let's say, large supermarket chains in Europe getting interested about the opportunity that can arise from having these devices connected at home and connecting to somehow to their online markets and things like that?
Yes, the reality is that when I started I think it was 2010, more or less, we started to work with a connected fridge that automatically create your order for the supermarket. So this is, I think, the first application that was created for smart homes, but nowadays it's not working. So for sure, this is one important thing, because you will create a direct link between the need and the provision of the needs. So the challenge or the keystone that has not been found yet is in which way user can control this process. Because the typical case of the fridge is, okay, I'm running out of milk in my fridge, but I have 6 bottles out of the fridge. So why to create a new order if I still have? So it's what is the position of people for accepting that this is something that can be placed. One approach that is also followed is through receipts. You can make a receipt in the oven, and the oven will configure automatically to do it perfectly. There is easier to take all the ingredients, ask them to a supermarket, and get your order at home. But it's still something that everyone thinks that it's something useful, but the reality is a complex context that should be always driven by the owner of the appliance.
But I also noticed that more in Europe, in the countries that I tend to move, in Portugal and Ireland, even the online experience of the supermarkets is not particularly appealing. You can easily be as confused in their online websites than inside the supermarket. So sometimes I feel that they haven't sorted out their online markets yet at a level that people can easily buy. And sometimes the fact that they are still at a certain level of understanding digitalization is also somehow limiting them from understanding the opportunities of appliances. But that's just a personal opinion.
I think UK-wise, the major supermarkets are trying to get better with their online offering. It's interesting to see the efforts from Waitrose and Tesco's and Sainsbury's and so on, but they've been led by a 100% online supermarket, which is Ocado in the UK, and that online shopping experience is really good. You know, you can search for the products. It will do all of the sort of suggestion stuff. You can do the sort of one-click shop, quickly load up your common items and all this kind of stuff. You know, have delivery times at times, but the user's still in control. It's not fully automated. I think the other areas where we're kind of interested in, and you might think about is also, and people are talking about getting rid of waste and packaging and all of this kind of stuff. To a certain extent, if you're ordering ingredients, they're going to come pre-prepared, pre-packed. Now, that has pros and cons. The pros is actually it's really good for single people. It's really good for people with disabilities that have trouble. You know, maybe they've got rheumatoid arthritis. They can't hold a knife or a peeler properly, and so you can take the stuff, put it in the oven, have it cooked perfectly, and have a nutritious meal, better than a microwave meal, because you're cooking fresh ingredients. At the same time, it comes with packaging, which has an effect on the environment. So it's what I hope to see is that we're going to start to see much more cooperation across ecosystems. Exactly. Where you're working with manufacturers and supply chains and packaging and so on. So because we've done all of these verticals and these silos where people are operating, and actually our lives don't operate in silos. We cross all of these things. Our lives are horizontal. And so therefore we have an impact. And if we can start having a horizontal joined up approach to the way that we are, providing, stuff for people in their homes, then I think we can have a positive impact on people's quality of life, but we can also have a positive impact on the planet. Are there groups, are there industry groups that are starting to look at this stuff that you're aware of?
Well, this is a big challenge here. Basically, you presented it perfectly. For me, IoT is about breaking silos. It's basically connect things to create new ecosystems, to find who can get value from what you are offering, and know in which way I'm going to get value from what I have put in my appliance. And this is something that requires a change of the mindset of everyone in the market. That takes time, but at the same time, they are starting to see the potential, because it is not only the packaging. At the end, if we have appliances with connectivity, and we know that put in the washing machine or doing a pyrolysis to clean the oven consumes a lot of energy. If we have a partnership with an energy company, we can align peak of renewable production to reduce fossil fuels dependency. So this kind of new ecosystem has to be created. So far, there are some groups of manufacturers that are working on creating interoperable environments, but still is a bit not a silo, because they are working with energy companies, but the mindset should be changed radically. It's the offering we can create with our appliances. I mean, any connected product at home goes far beyond the specific use we foresee in our own industry right now. It's you are part of a much bigger ecosystem, which is not only a house, but also a building, a neighborhood, and a city. So combining all these things, or should be combined somehow, to make effective use of the resources. Electricity, mobility, water, everything. And also for food delivery, it's it's a challenge not only for how to put things properly, but also how to deliver things on time with good quality and in a way that is sustainable for everyone. And this is a new thing that is quite surprising for some of my colleagues. Is a circular economy. There will be a new regulation from the European Commission well, let's say, forcing us to implement measures to support circular economy. One of the measures included is self-repair of appliances. It's not an easy task, but we have to change our mindset to allow people to do it. And this change of mindset is enabling new ideas that takes, well, to unexplored places, and new business can came from that part. So it's, well, a matter of ecosystem and who will be participating in the ecosystem, and when we invite people to participate here, because if the maturity of the solutions is not so good, we can miss opportunities. But at the same time, if we never take the risks to invite new people, we will not be creating enough value to the connectivity inside the product. So yeah, that's yeah, the path we have to follow, because we don't have another choice.
And I'm kind of excited that they've not given you that choice, to be honest, because I think it's a really interesting challenge. I know that some manufacturers have been making high quality goods, but the built-in obsolescence of white goods has been, well documented over the last few decades. Whilst some fridges may last 20 years, a lot of other household goods go pop after, a couple of months after the warranty expires, which is why retailers make a fortune out of selling extended warranties. For me, our impact on the planet can be vastly improved by allowing this kind of modularity and repairability of products, whether it's self-repair or engineer repair. But that kind of thing's, I think, something that we have to do as responsible organizations. So I'm excited about that. So sometimes legislation brings about good things. I know we've reached the end of our time. There's lots of other stuff I could think about talking about, but hopefully we can bring some of that to Twitter. So thank you, Juan. Obviously, I'd like to thank all of the great supporters that we have for Access Chat, particularly those that keep the lights on and the captioning going. So Barclays Access, who've been ever present for the last 3 years. Microlink, who are also great supporters, and of course MyClearText for providing the quality captions that enable everyone to access our videos. So thank you very much.
Thank you.